The channel. This is a More Better Ascend coming at you with a arena standard meta deck. This deck is very popular on the ladder right now. It is currently 7.51% of the meta. It has gone down, but it is still a very popular deck and a deck that you're going to run into a lot. So let's get into it, go over the strategy, and see if this is a deck that you want to craft for yourself. All right, so just looking at this deck, you are looking at a very, very low to the ground deck. This deck is a bunch of 1 and 2 drops, nothing bigger than 2 in the entire deck, even pips on both sides, and this deck is just going to come at you quick. So let's take a look at what the creatures we're dealing with and what synergies they have. So first up, we got the Monastery Swift Spear, which is, everyone knows this card. It's a 1/1 or 1/2 haste with prowess. With the amount of spells that we're going to be playing that are non-creature spells, this thing is going to just keep growing and growing every turn for those big prowess hits. Everyone knows the combo of, just turn 1 Swift Spear, turn 2 Monstrous Rage. You're going to get in 5 damage pretty easy. You're gonna have your opponent down to 14 on turn 2, so that's a good play. That is in the deck. Monstrous Rage right here, which is an instant that puts a monster roll token, which is 1/1 and trample, and +2/+0 for 1 mana. This card's broken, but hey, while it's still in standard, let's keep using it. Other 1 mana creatures that we have the Heartfire Hero. This is part of the mono red mouse instant pump spell deck, whatever you want to call it. That this comes in as a 1/1, and every time it's targeted each turn, it gets a 1/1 counter. And with the amount of enchantments and instants and stuff like that, this will get very large, very quick. And the larger it gets, the more of a threat it is to your opponent. Not only for the fact that it will deal you a ton of damage every turn on attack, but if they try to remove it without exile, it's going to deal damage equal to its power. So the more you keep pumping this thing and building on it, it's just a snowball effect. And then when they finally realize, oh man, this is no good, we got to get rid of this, and they go for the throated or something like that, it will deal damage equal to its power. So that's another great addition to this deck. White creature for 1, Optimistic Scavenger. It's a 1/1. Whenever an enchantment enters, or whenever you fully unlock a room, there's no room, so it's all about enchantments, you get to put a 1/1 counter on target creature. So the monster roll token with Monstrous Rage, that is an enchantment, so this will be able to put 1/1 counter on something. And I'll go through all the rest of the other enchantments in this deck now, and then we'll go back to the creatures. We have Ethereal Armor, where the creature gets +1/+1 for each enchantment that you control. So all of your enchantments across the entire board, which could be 3, 4, 5, who knows, and they get first strike. So this is a 1 mana spell that gives your creature first strike and could possibly give it +5/+5. So, and it's common, so another broken card. We also have Shard Mage's Rescue, which is a nice protection spell for 1. If it entered this turn, it gets hexproof, so it's a good way to stop those removal spells, and it also gives +1/+1 as a nice bonus. So you're not really going to be playing this on your turn. This is going to be more of a 1 mana, let's protect our creature spell. And along with that, there's also Lauren's Escape, which gives your creature hexproof and indestructible until end of turn, and you get to scry 1, which is nice in case you're really looking for something specific. All right, now we have Demonic Ruckus. This gives a creature +1/+1 and menace and trample, which is pretty crazy for 2, and you can plot it for 1. So you can play this on turn 2 as a plot, and then on turn 3 you can go in with a big strike with all your creatures that you have out on the field. It also, when you put it on a creature, if they do remove it, so I would suggest putting this on maybe like a Heartfire Hero, because it is going to be a big target for removal. And if you put it on there, then the creature, when it gets killed, the Heartfire Hero will do damage equal to its power. So it'll be at least a 3/3 with this on it and the Heartfire Hero's original power, plus its +1/+1 ability. You'll get to draw a card. So it's a good way to replace a card in your hand. And just another great spell. There's only 2 of in this deck. You don't really want to do too many more of these because it is a little slow, but it is a nice thing to have, especially because we are dealing with a lot of enchantments. This is one of the better enchantments in the meta right now. All right, we have Feather of Flight. This is another flash enchant creature, and when it enters, you draw a card. Another way to continue to fill your hand, which is great, and it gets +1/+0 and has flying. So you have one of your creatures in play. Like, let's say you have your Heartfire Hero, and then they have a flyer, and they think they're just going to get in for some easy damage. You flash this in, it targets your Heartfire Hero. It gets another +1/+1 counter because it's the first time this turn, so you're going to get an extra bonus +1/+1 instead of just the ones that happen on your turn. And it'll all of a sudden get another it'll actually get +2/+1 and flying. So it'll be a nice way to intercept a flyer that was maybe doing some damage to you and taking away too much life because there's no flying creatures in this deck. All right, and the last enchantment, Sheltered by Ghosts. This card is amazing. I can't stress this enough. I have in most of my other deck techs or games. This is one of the best removal spells in the game right now. It is a 2-mana enchantment. It will exile a creature with your creature, so it would be like a Brutal Cathar kind of thing. But instead of just exiling it, it exiles it, but also puts protection on the creature that exiled it, so that it makes it harder to kill. So it'll have +1/+0 and lifelink and ward 2. If this card was just a 2-mana enchantment that said enchanted creature gets +1/0 and has lifelink and ward 2, everyone would be like, wow, this is a great enchantment. This is amazing. And then you add that you can exile a non-land permanent, not even a creature. It could be anything, an enchantment, an artifact, a planeswalker. Doesn't matter. This card is insane. I cannot believe that it is an uncommon. It should be a mythic rare or a rare at this point. This card is great. Cannot stress enough that you need 4 of these in this deck. All right, and now creature-wise, let's show our top 2 top-end cards of our creatures. Emberheart Challenger. This is a mono-red staple right now. It is a 2/2 haste prowess. So it's kind of like a Monastery Swiftspear where it has haste and prowess. But it is a 2/2. And just like the Heartfire Hero, it has Valiant. So whenever it gets targeted by a spell or ability, first time, you get to exile top card of your library, and then you get to play that card. So in a deck that really is going to go through spells very quickly and run out of gas very quickly, having this on the field and being able to target it will definitely refill your hand, keep the threats going, keep the gas going. Just like with all the other stuff that we have in here that draws cards, this is definitely a must in this deck, especially with, like I said, you're going to run out of gas quick with all these cheap spells. And then this isn't the right card, but this is the token version of it, but the regular obviously would be in the deck, where Manifold Mouse has Offspring, where you can bring in an extra copy as a 1/1. So for 4 total mana, you get to put in your Manifold Mouse with an extra Manifold Mouse token. The original is a 1/2. This is a 1/1. And at the beginning of combat, you get to target a mouse and give it first a double strike or trample. So here's a mouse and here's a mouse. And they both care about getting targeted. So you target one of these mice, this one's going to get +1/+1. And this one is going to get a card in exile that you can play for free, because not for meaning for free, that you get to play a card that you didn't have to do anything for, because it's just the ability of this creature every turn. So if you have an Emberheart Challenger on the field, it's like you're drawing 2 cards every turn with it, targeting it and giving it double strike, which is again double strike, huge. Give it double strike, then you can give it trample, then you can give it menace and trample, then you can give it flying, then you can give it lifelink and ward. Like, You can give it hexproof. You can give it indestructible. Like, you can give it first strike and +1/+1 for each enchantment. This deck is insane. I plan on building this deck and trying it out on the ladder, just because it just looks way too good to be true, and I just want to see if I can just crush the ladder with this deck. Let's take a look at the mana base. Only 20 lands. It is a very low to the ground deck, like we said before, so you don't need a ton of lands. It is right down the middle, so you're going to have 5 mountains, 5 plains. You're going to have 4 fast lands. You're going to have 4 pain lands, and then we have 2 more here where it's a desert that does damage to the opponent. I don't know how much I think I'd put those in there, the damage ones. But this is just what's on Aether Hub right now as the meta deck of this. So 20 lands, figure out how you want to do it. You can split the mountains and plains up evenly, and then just fill in the rest of the lands with whatever duels you have that you think would be best. Sideboard. I haven't really talked about sideboards. A lot of good stuff in here. A lot of stuff that I would think, maybe I might put that in, but it's more stuff that's more expensive in terms of mana and won't make the deck as fast. But let's just take a look. We got Torch the Tower, nice removal card to exile creatures. You can exile the Heartfire Hero and stuff that you're fighting if you're playing a red deck. We got Exercise, where we can destroy enchantments and artifacts. That's nice to have for some enchantment removal and artifact removal. Obliterating Bolt. It does 4 damage to creature or planeswalker and then exiles it for 2. That's a great card. It's sorcery speed, but it's still 4 damage for 2. And it exiles the creature or planeswalker. That's amazing. We got Rest in Peace, where you exile graveyards. Good for graveyard hate. There's a lot of reanimator decks right now in the meta, and a lot of stuff doing graveyard shenanigans. So you're definitely going to need a Rest in Peace in your deck. Case the Crimson Pulse, which is just kind of a way to keep your hand moving and get some more stuff in your hands in case you're getting flooded and drawing some lands. We have the Urbrass Forge. Every red deck, or any deck that has red, I love this card. You should have this card in your sideboard at least. It's one of those cards that if you can get it out on the field on turn 3, the consistent pressure that this puts every turn, where you're getting a new trampling attacker that's just going to just kamikaze its way in there, and you don't even have to think about it. You can just hit attack. Eventually they're going to have to start blocking these, and it's just going to be overwhelming for them. They're not going to be able to keep up with putting enough stuff out in the battlefield. And then you can let your other creatures that we've already talked about with the enchantments on them then attack once their defenses are gone. We got the Screaming Nemesis. This is great against life gain decks. I love life gain. I've played it a bunch of times on the channel. This card immediately shuts down any decks that care about gaining life for a Johnny's Pridemate or for Essence Channeler or anything like that. Those cards will be useless. They will be 2 mana, 2/1s or 2/2s, and that's it. So you kind of just have to let this through every time, which is not a good strategy, because then you need flyers to get over it, because then it can just block. So again, Screaming Nemesis, best card in red right now against its number 1 competitor, which is life gain. It's a perfect counter to mono red, so this is a good card for that. We got Atali's Favor, another enchantment. So that fits well with the synergies in this deck, and this card's great. It gives +1/+1 and trample, but then also when it enters the battlefield, you get to discover 3. So discovering is exiling cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card with mana value 3 or less. Cast it without paying its mana cost, or put it in your hand. Put the rest in the bottom in a random order. So this could get a creature, this could get an enchantment, this could get anything that's a non-land card with value 3 or less, and the entire deck is 2 or less. So it's going to get pretty much anything in our deck. It is 3 mana though, so I feel like there's better options for putting something in that's 3 mana, like an Urbrask Forge, But, you know, this is still a good card, good option in case you're in a matchup in a best of 3 that you would need something like this. And the last is Enduring Courage, a 1 of. This is a enchantment creature for 4, and it says whenever another creature you control enters, it gets +2/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. So that's great for all the creatures that we have in our deck. Only 2 of them have haste. You can throw these in. They immediately get a boost and haste. And then when it dies, it just becomes an enchantment that's sitting on your battlefield that will continue to have this effect. So you can still keep casting creatures, and they will get +2/+0 and gain haste when they enter the battlefield. So another great card. So as you can see on the side here, the win rates with this deck, pretty crazy. 74%. That's a great percentage when you're looking at mostly 50% win rates. If Magic's algorithm, you know, is what everyone says it is. So if you can get 74%, that's huge. So anyway, this deck is a phenomenal deck. Let's see, can I find the all right, there are some rares in here. There are no mythics, but there are some rares, and it is a good deck to. Oh, it's right up here. We got 3 mythic rares. Wonder what that is. 3 mythic rares, 15 rares, 33 uncommons, and 24 commons. This deck's great. I'm gonna build this and I'm gonna play it. So stay tuned to the channel where we go over this deck and we're gonna throw it on the ladder. So if you like this video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do all the algorithm things, and I'm a more better SN, and we'll catch you for another deck tech.